2:43 p.m. Strait of Hormuz. Blazing afternoon sun. Perfect visibility. 21 miles wide at its narrowest point, the most important 21 miles on the surface of the Earth. USS Abraham Lincoln, Nimitz-class aircraft carrier, 100,000 tons, 5,200 sailors, standard freedom of navigation transit, done 1,000 times before. Then, the radar operator aboard USS gravely spoke 6 words that no sailor ever wants to hear. Vampire, 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 multiple contacts inbound. 44 Iranian IRGC fast attack boats, launched simultaneously from 3 coastal positions along the northern shore, moving at 55 knots, armed with C-704 anti-ship missiles, RPGs, and heavy machine guns, converging on the Lincoln from 3 directions at once. Behind them, 6 Chinese-supplied C-802 coastal missile batteries going hot along the Iranian coastline. G-radar locked. Launch sequences initiated. Above the fleet, 4 modified Shahed 136 suicide drones, already inside the carrier's outer defensive perimeter. Tehran had spent 3 years engineering this moment, a simultaneous multi-vector attack built around one mathematical certainty. Overwhelm the Aegis system, drain the defensive magazine, send the killing blow through the gap. 840,000 barrels of oil flow through this strait every single hour. The Lincoln's destruction here would not just be a military catastrophe, it would be the single most destabilizing event in modern history. Oil prices doubling overnight, global markets collapsing by morning. Iran believed they had the perfect kill box. They were wrong, because they made 5 catastrophic mistakes. Me first. The Lincoln's Aegis combat system had been tracking all 44 boats since 1:58 p.m., 45 minutes before the first Iranian boat left the harbor. Second, 2 Virginia-class attack submarines had been silently shadowing the IRGC fleet for 14 hours. Tehran had no idea they existed. Third, 4 EA-18 G Growler electronic warfare aircraft were already airborne at 28,000 feet, waiting. Fourth, 380 Force Recon Marines aboard USS Baton were at full combat readiness 30 miles away. Fifth, and this is the one Tehran never saw coming, 2 A-10 Thunderbolt IIs were already orbiting at 15,000 feet directly above the strait, armed, patient, invisible against the afternoon glare. The aircraft the Pentagon tried to retire 5 times. The aircraft every defense contractor called obsolete. The aircraft that was never supposed to fight over water. It was about to solve a problem that a $2 billion carrier strike group could not solve alone. What happened in the next 38 minutes became the most decisive naval engagement since the Tanker War of 1988. This is that story. To understand why the A-10 changed everything in the Strait of Hormuz, you first need to understand the problem the U.S. Navy could not solve on its own. Iran's IRGC swarm doctrine was not built to win a naval battle. It was built to win an economic war. 44 fast attack boats do not need to sink a carrier. They only need to force it to stop, to divert, to hesitate. Even 6 hours of disruption to commercial traffic through Hormuz sends oil markets into freefall. Every tanker captain waiting outside the Gulf of Oman watching his GPS shows a carrier group under attack. He turns around. Every insurance underwriter in London watching the same feed. He cancels coverage for the strait. The economic damage begins before a single missile hits steel. And the weapon Tehran designed this doctrine around was not the boats themselves, it was the cost asymmetry. ARIM-162 ESSM interceptor missile cost $1.1 million. An IRGC fast attack boat costs less than a used pickup truck. Fire 44 boats at a destroyer and force it to expend $44 million in missiles. And you have not just attacked a ship, you have created a logistics crisis. Every missile fired is a hole in the ship's defensive magazine. Once those vertical launch cells are empty, the ship must leave the combat zone to reload at a specialized port. The carrier loses its escort. The strike group fractures. That was Tehran's real weapon, not firepower, mathematics. For 20 years, the U.S. Navy had no clean answer to this equation, until the A-10 arrived over Hormuz. Here is the deep irony that Tehran never understood. The A-10 Thunderbolt II was designed in 1972 to kill Soviet tanks on the plains of Germany. It was never supposed to see water. It was built slow, deliberately, so the pilot could see individual targets. It was built like a flying tank, deliberately, so it could absorb anti-aircraft fire and keep fighting. It was built with the GAU-8 Avenger rotary cannon, a weapon so powerful its recoil force is greater than the thrust of one of the aircraft's own engines. None of these design decisions made any sense for a maritime environment until you looked at what was actually circling the Lincoln. 44 fiberglass-hulled speedboats doing 55 knots, no armor, no radar cross-section worth measuring, no countermeasures, no electronic warfare capability. Moving fast and low on the water surface, exactly the environment where a supersonic jet like the F-35C struggles to maintain visual targeting. Too fast, too low, too cluttered with radar returns from wave tops and commercial traffic. The A-10 does not have this problem. At 350 miles per hour with straight wings generating high lift at low speeds, the A-10 pilot can circle a swarm formation, maintain visual tally on multiple boats simultaneously, and deliver precision fire that no other aircraft in the U.S. inventory can match in this environment. And the weapon that made it lethal was not the GAU-8, not yet. It was the APKWS rocket. The APKWS Advanced Precision Kill weapon system is the most important weapons development in asymmetric naval warfare in the last 2 decades, and almost nobody outside the defense community has heard of it. Take a standard 2.75-inch unguided rocket, the kind the U.S. military has fired from helicopters since Vietnam. Fit it with a laser guidance kit, 4 mid-body fins that respond to reflected laser energy. Unit cost, $22,000. Guidance accuracy, less than 1 meter circular error probable. The A-10 carries 38 of these rockets in underwing pods, against a fiberglass-hulled IRGC speedboat worth $50,000. A single APKWS round to the engine transom is a mission kill, propulsion destroyed, boat dead in the water, permanently removed from the swarm equation, $22,000 to kill a $50,000 target. For the first time in the history of Iran's swarm doctrine, the cost equation favored the United States. Tehran built their entire strategy around the assumption that American precision was a limited and expensive resource. The APKWS proved that assumption 20 years out of date. But the APKWS was only the first weapon in the sequence. High above the strait, a P-8, a Poseidon maritime patrol aircraft, was acting as the brain of the entire engagement. Its APY-10 radar mapped every single IRGC boat in real time. Speed, heading, weapon load, which boats carried heavy machine guns, which carried rocket launchers, which were the command vessels coordinating the swarm. This complete target list was pushed directly into the A-10's cockpit via Link 16 data link. The pilot did not need to search. Every target was already identified, prioritized, and waiting. This is what the Pentagon calls a sensor-to-shooter kill chain. And in the Strait of Hormuz on this afternoon, it was the most efficient kill chain ever assembled over open water. 2:43 p.m., IRGC launches 44 fast attack boats, 6 coastal batteries go active, 4 Shahed drones detected by F-35C, distributed aperture systems already inside the defensive perimeter. 2:44 p.m., USS Gravely broadcasts vampire warning. Aegis baseline 9 tracks all 44 surface contacts simultaneously. EA-18G growlers activate jamming pods. Every Iranian coastal radar frequency burned out in 0.8 seconds. 6 missile batteries go electronically blind. Their targeting solutions dissolve into static. 2:45 p.m., first A-10 descends from 15,000 feet, dropping into the engagement envelope at 350 miles per hour. Tactical awareness display lit with 44 digital target icons pushed by the P-8A via Link 16. The pilot does not hunt, he simply selects. 2:46 p.m. First APKWS engagement, lead IRGC wedge formation, 12 boats closing on the Lincoln's port side. A-10 pilot paints the lead boat with the AAQ-28 Lightning targeting pod. Trigger pull, rocket motor ignites, 4 guidance fins deploy. Impact, engine transom, direct hit, boat stops dead. Second boat, third, fourth. The wedge formation collapses in 50 seconds, 2:47 p.m. Second A-10 engages the starboard approach formation. 14 boats moving in a pincer from the eastern approach. Same sequence. A PKWS laser designation. Engine kills. One by one, the formation loses cohesion. Boats veering wildly, colliding with each other. The coordinated pincer becomes a scattered debris field. D2:49 p.m. A-10 pilot, 1 switches master arm to gun. 38 APKWS expended. Swarm count reduced from 44 to 21. Remaining boats in full disarray. The GAU-8 Avenger spins up, 7 barrels reaching 3,900 rounds per minute in 0.2 seconds. The sound carries across open water for miles, a visceral mechanical roar that every IRGC sailor in the strait hears simultaneously. 2:50 p.m. First gun run, 30-degree dive, CCIP reticle on HUD, calculating exact impact point accounting for wind, airspeed, dive angle, 0.7-second burst, 45 rounds of PGU-14/B armor-piercing incendiary, each round a depleted uranium penetrator traveling at Mach 3. The IRGC boat's fiberglass hull offers 0 resistance. The engine block shatters into secondary fragmentation. The boat is removed from the water surface in under 2 seconds. 2:51 p.m. 4 Shahed suicide drones reach inner defensive perimeter. Phalanx CIWS activates, 4,500 rounds per minute. All 4 drones destroyed within 800 meters of the hull. No impact on ship. 2:53 p.m. A-10's complete third strafing pass. Swarm reduced to 14 boats. Remaining IRGC commanders attempt to break contact and flee toward Iranian coastal waters. The A-10 is faster than any speedboat ever built. It circles back. A short burst from the GAU-8 in front of a fleeing boat's bow is enough. The boat stops. Crew abandons vessel. Here is the psychological dimension Tehran never calculated. The A-10 does not return to a carrier to rearm. It does not need to. It simply circles, its engines humming at low altitude, waiting. The loiter time of the A-10 over a target zone, up to 4 hours with aerial refueling from a KC-135 tanker orbiting above, is its most devastating weapon. The IRGC cannot wait it out. There's nowhere to hide in a 21-mile wide strait with a P-8A watching from 30,000 feet above. 2:55 p.m. USS Indiana, Virginia-class submarine, sends single-active sonar ping toward 3 Iranian Kilo-class submarines hiding beneath the commercial shipping lane. The message is unmistakable. You have been found. All 3 Iranian submarines begin emergency withdrawal toward coastal waters. 2:57 p.m. Iranian coastal battery commanders attempt to switch to backup optical targeting systems after radar blackout. EA-18G Growler detects new emissions in 0.3 seconds. Updated coordinates transmitted via Link 16 to USS Gravely. 2:58 p.m. USS Gravely fires 6 Tomahawk cruise missiles, GPS guided, 3-meter accuracy. Flight time to coastal targets, 4 minutes. 3:02 p.m. All 6 Iranian coastal missile batteries cease to exist. Simultaneous detonations along the northern Hormuz coastline. Launch vehicles, radar installations, command trailers, gone. 3:04 p.m. A-10's complete final sweep. Last 7 IRGC boats either dead in water or surrendered. Crews visible on deck with hands raised. Visible from the A-10's cockpit at 500 feet altitude in perfect afternoon light. 3:08 p.m. 380 Marines launch from USS Bataan in 16 MV-22 Ospreys. Target: 3 IRGC coastal observation posts that coordinated the entire attack. Simultaneous breach. 8 IRGC commanders captured. All operational planning documents and communication equipment seized. 3:21 p.m. All combat operations complete. 38 minutes. The A-10 had fired 38 APKWS rockets and expended less than 25% of its GAU-8 magazine. It could have stayed over the strait for 3 more hours. Tehran had nothing left to send. Within 2 hours, Iranian state media broadcast their response. Press TV, quote, IRGC naval forces conducted a successful defensive operation against American military aggression in Iranian territorial waters. The enemy carrier group was deterred. Iranian sovereignty was defended. The Lincoln had never slowed, never diverted. It completed its Hormuz transit on schedule and anchored in Bahrain at 7:45 p.m. Pentagon satellite imagery told the story that no state media statement could suppress. 6 coastal missile battery sites, craters, 41 of 44 IRGC fast attack boats sunk and dead in the water or captured. 3 Iranian submarines, photographed surfacing an emergency blow procedure 40 miles from the engagement zone. 3 IRGC observation posts, rubble. And somewhere in a secured facility in Bahrain, a hard drive pulled from an IRGC commander's laptop. 3 years of operational planning, every detail of the ambush, every contingency, every backup scenario, all of it now in American hands. Global reaction was immediate. Oil markets spiked 6% at open, then stabilized within 4 hours as analysts confirmed the strait remained fully operational. UAE expanded naval cooperation with Fifth Fleet within 48 hours. The tanker captains waiting outside the Gulf of Oman received one simple message from their insurers. You can proceed. Here is what this engagement actually proved. Iran's swarm doctrine failed not because the United States had more firepower. The U.S. has always had more firepower than Iran. It failed because the U.S. finally had the right firepower at the right cost. The APKWS rocket broke the mathematics that made swarm warfare viable. When the interceptor costs less than the target, the entire strategic logic of the swarm dissolves. You cannot drain a magazine that is cheaper to fire than your boats are to build. The A-10 succeeded in the maritime environment for exactly the same reason it succeeded on the tank planes of Germany. It was built to be seen, built to be slow enough to find individual targets, built to absorb punishment and keep delivering fire, built with a magazine deep enough to outlast any swarm that any enemy could assemble. The Pentagon tried to retire this aircraft 5 times. 5 times, the realities of actual combat brought it back. Because there is a category of problem, high volume, low cost, asymmetric threat, that no stealth jet, no guided missile, no billion-dollar system can solve as efficiently as a slow aircraft with a very large gun and a very deep magazine. Iran built their swarm doctrine around the assumption that American precision was expensive, that American response would be constrained by cost, that the mathematics of the strait favored the attacker. The A-10 Warthog threw those assumptions into the water alongside 41 IRGC speedboats. The Strait of Hormuz is open. The Lincoln is anchored in Bahrain. And the Warthog, the aircraft that was never supposed to fight over water, just rewrote the rules of naval warfare with a 50-year-old airframe and a gun that refused to stop. The sequence beats firepower. Efficiency beats sophistication. And sometimes the most advanced thing a commander can do is reach back into the past and pull out a machine that was built to last. The GAU-8 Avenger does not care about doctrine. It cares about targets. On this afternoon in the Strait of Hormuz, there were 44 of them. There are none now. Here is my question to you. What broke Iran's swarm doctrine first? The APKWS rocket changing the cost equation, or the GAU-8 Avenger's raw firepower removing boats faster than Tehran could replace them? Comment below, Team APKWS or Team GAU-8. If this tactical breakdown changed how you see the future of naval warfare, hit the like button and subscribe. because the next classified engagement file is already being prepared. Trust me, you will not want to miss it. The events, dialogues, the military operations, and outcomes depicted in this video are entirely fictional and created purely for educational and entertainment purposes. This is a hypothetical what-if scenario based on publicly available information about real-world military capabilities, weapon systems, and geopolitical tensions. No part of this video should be interpreted as a factual report of real events. All military engagements, casualty figures, and operational details shown are dramatized and do not represent actual incidents. We do not glorify war or violence. Our goal is to analyze military technology and doctrine in an engaging format. Viewer discretion is advised.